He's one of our parents of the platform actually, and he's been with us always and will always be. Now always and will always be the one at double. Yeah, I received the video,
That's the
so
first one.
I'll watch it later.
Yeah. Looking for the second one.
Wow. So Solomon, we just heard a story of an experience of Valentine's Day from Mr. Nanchop. You know, for some relationships that are not serious, those ones that they use the rope to tie, rope cut. Ayo, bye bye. And also, Mr. Nancho, before you came into the space, we were talking about um the difficulties of growing up as for those youth who lost a parent or both parents, and the way they have been perceived in society, compared to those youth who grow up from a poor background.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was what we're discussing about. So Sir Solomon and Miss Ikem both have experience of losing a parent and having to face the difficulty of growing up without a parent, and being a daughter and losing a mother, and being a son and losing a father, you know was very, very challenging growing up with single parents compared to if they had had both parents and the way life would have turned out for them. So that was our post discussion before you came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they also left advice out there to the youths, of how they should face life when it comes to, you know, growing up with a single parent. And I also let them know that there is also a difference with growing up like growing up as an orphan and growing up with both parents and still facing the challenges of as though you were an orphan.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some differences that we have to also consider. Those who even have both parents but grew up from a poor background and not having the same support that if they had if they were wealthy, it's not different from those who are growing up as orphans or may have lost a parent. So we also have to consider situations, and growing up as an orphan or losing a parent should make you even not feel bad of your situation, because those who even have the parents are not facing the same but from a poor background. If you have both parents and you're from a poor background, you are facing the same challenges as though someone is an orphan. So those who are
Yeah.
orphans or may have lost a parent should not feel bad of their situation, but just thank God and put everything in prayers and know that the best is yet to come with hard
It's
work.
easy.
Yeah, with
It's
hard
easy
work.
to say that.
No, that's what I'm saying. With hard work it's possible. You just have
Yeah.
to, yeah, you have to put everything in prayers and with hard work, hoping that everything gets much better. You know, and don't look at those with parents and feel down and feel like you wish you had parents, because you don't know what those with parents also are facing. They too are facing their own challenges. We just have to pray. So those were the discussions we had earlier.
Let me chip in something into that. First of all, let me say this. My heartfelt condolence.
Ladies and gentlemen, watching and listening to Yes Talk Show. Subscribe, hit the notification icon for updates. Like, comment, share, below. Yes Talk Show.
It's never. I mean, we humans, we live in time, but God and the, and where God does not live in time, God lives in eternity. So, what's the definition of time or eternity? Eternity is a dateless beginning to a dateless end. But that's why somebody will say to you, how old is God? God does not have an age. I mean, he doesn't have age because he doesn't live in time. He lives in eternity. But we humans, we live in time. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it doesn't really matter for how long you've lost your parents, like when they died and left the world. When they transited to the spiritual realm, they entered a stage where they became eternal. I mean, things like age and time doesn't exist to them. Everything seems to be in the same day. So sometimes, with that feeling and that notion in mind, you may really want to understand that they are still with you in the spirit. So, and I can also say that I understand how someone might feel. There are always that moments where you feel like you really miss them. I share with you, anyone in the house or anyone listening to us right now, anywhere, anytime in the world, who've lost a parent, um, be encouraged. Oh, someone is trying to call me. I'm sorry. So, am I back into the meeting? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're here. We are all here.
Okay, great, excellent, thanks. So, this is the point. Still, there are some who whose both parents are alive, but they've really never lived as though they had parents because perhaps their parents were never there for them. Some of them grew with their grandparents, some of them grew with other family relatives because they were poorly treated by their own very parents. Or sometimes you even have their parents that are alive, but they're incapable of taking care of them. So they have to become responsible for their own upbringing. So if you look at this in these different aspects, or with regards of all these different scenarios, you will agree with me that I believe personally that parentship has a lot to play in the lives of children, but um, it's not the final. It's not the final. I've seen people in life. In fact, as a matter of fact, most successful people in this life have had the toughest past in when they were growing. Like they have, if you listen to their stories, most of them, you even notice they didn't even have parents. They didn't have anyone who showed them love. And that's why I tend to believe what the Bible says, that everything, now take note, not some things, not partial things, not, no, say all things work together for the good of they that love the Lord and that are the call according to his purpose. All things, not just some, all. That means even the situation where you were disadvantaged by not having a parent or having both parents, it can still and will still work for your benefit. Let me share with you my own personal testimony. My parents had me when we were very young. That's why if you see my dad and I, we are like brothers. We go to some. I wish I could share a photo of my dad and then you begin to wonder who is the senior man in the picture. Talk less of my mother. If I move with my mother on the street, you'll be thinking it's my girlfriend. But this is the point. I never had that opportunity to go with them. You know, I spent a lengthy period of my life with my grandparents, and still I cannot speak the dialect. What a shame. Well, it's okay. But why am I saying this? I'm saying this to say that sometimes you grow in life. I had an instance where I had a scenario where my parents came to Africa and they wanted to take me to Europe, and I was still very young, and everything was done, but there was this disruption in the family because I was still very young. So my uncles came, my aunties, they all collected my cousins and their children, and they took them abroad, and we were all of the same age. They were still very young. I'm talking about 8, 9 years old. But this is what happened. Um, they all traveled, and years later, when I came to Europe, I was now more educated. I was, in comparison to these my cousins who all left in the same age where I was, they most of them have not even gotten ordinary levels in Europe. They were drug addicts. They were living the most miserable lives you could imagine in Europe. And I saw myself at one point. This is it. I felt like God hated me at that particular point where all of them were going to Europe and I didn't have that opportunity to go to Europe. I saw myself like, what the hell? Like everyone, like why? Like this is something so bad. It's something bad happening to me. I had the opportunity, I had the advantage, I had all the chance. In fact, I even had a red passport. But they said no, I had to stay in Cameroon, at least to achieve a certain degree of education. To me, at that particular point of time, the whole world and the whole family relatives who took that decision, they hated me. It's like the whole world was against me. It was like they never wanted me to enjoy that time with my parents, that living in the house with my own parents. But again, I only discovered years after that all those things that seems to be so negative, that seemed to be so um, disadvantageous to me, were actually the very foundations of my own advantage for my future. Today, I am a software engineer in the country where I live. In fact, I am a graduate. I'm a university graduate. I was one of the best students in my, you will not believe that I was in the second year at bachelor. I was already a tutor for master students in my faculty. I'm the only black student in my department. The only black student from Africa. But I can boast of that because I had a solid foundation. I learned that discipline in a very harsh condition. When I remember that day, the man go read for past GC, you know. You put your foot inside water
My
bucket.
God, see, put your foot inside bucket, go water. Wait, the lamb self no. The thing is, lamb self the even trait if you go off crazy not finish.
Thank you. Where's my next
See,
slide? Use that
then
candle.
candle the bond, candle don't burn. So the table say, see me. All table never has get black mark. Candle. See,
Sometimes these things might really seem so disadvantageous. They'll be like, the whole world is against you. But believe me, those are the very foundations that will make you strong when you get into a softer world. Because you don't suffer. Man only for Gary and Grandon for 1 week.
crank. We call that day for school na crank for body school crank. See hey God.
Man, you don't drink Gary for 1 week. You still there for you chop jollof rice, fish no did they meat no did they still survive.
Njanga fried rice.
So sometimes these things are like, let me say this. It doesn't really matter where you are right now. What I always say to people is we are the custodians of our future. It doesn't really matter what mistakes your parents made. They were not educated. They never granted you the chance to be educated. They never did. Listen, what I've discovered in this life is that the most miserable people are those who are spending today's time to regret about yesterday instead of investing today's time for the future. Yes, it is true. Your parents were never there to sponsor you educationally. Yes, it is true. You never had the opportunity to go to a boarding school like rich people's children. Yes, it is true. You were not opportuned to go to have dad like John, like Mary, and all the rest. But hey, today is your day. You are the very custodian of your own destiny. We all have the power to effect a change for that positive destiny we want. And you will still be surprised that some of those children, including myself, who came to Europe or America or abroad, but because of the foundation we had back home, we chose not to live that kind of a luxurious life where you have to live under your parents and you're just there and you're only eating. And no, you enter the system and hustle. So now, I'm not saying this because I want to boast, but I want to say this as a testimony to encourage somebody listening to me. Now, I'm boastful to say that I'm a great hustler. I'm a hustler. I have my companies, I have my businesses. I'm a hustler because I.
Ladies and gentlemen, watching and listening to Yes Home Show. Subscribe, hit the notification icon for updates. Like, comment, share below. Yes, talk show.